Winning isn't everything, but it's the only thing. In our business, there is no second place. Either you're first or you're last.
It was named after Vince Lombardi. You play in Green Bay. As important as it is to any other team, it means more to us.
When he walked into the meeting, he looked us right in the eye. He said, "Gentlemen, we're going to relentlessly chase perfection."
My first thought was, on any play with my arm strength, I may not let anybody know this, but my first thought was home run. On every play. On every play.
He did what? Fires into the end zone. Caught! Touchdown! No!
Welcome back to the Packers Corner. We got another victory in the books. We snatched this one from the jaws of defeat, made up for any qualms we might have had after the tough Week 2 loss against Atlanta. Feeling pretty awesome. That has to be an all-time historic great Green Bay Packers win. I was watching things on the couch with my wife with the Vikings game side by side, and I really had to try not to get too excited to watch in short succession the incredible comeback we had, and then the opposite, the downfall from the Vikings on the other screen. Dad, what was your reaction in terms of where that ranks? Honestly, all times of Packers regular season wins, it's got to be up there, huh?
Well, like I texted the group that you sent out an original message in all my years of watching Packer regular season victories, and that goes back to 1965. I know I have to think really hard of the other ones that are up there. It'd be Favre in 92 at Cincinnati. It was that kind of a feel to the game. I remember when I lived in California in Orange County, I went to watch Mikowski play the Rams, and they were behind 28-7 at halftime, and Mikowski led them all the way back, tied 38, and Brent Fullwood is going over the goal line for the winning touchdown and fumbles. He was released later that week, and they ended up losing that game, and Eric Dickerson ran out the clock for the Rams, but that was one that was up there when in 1968, when Travis Williams returned 2 kicks for touchdowns in the first half. The Packers scored 35 points in the first quarter against Cleveland to be ahead 35-0. As a little kid, that was a memorable, historic regular season game. But for Jordan Love to do what he did when everything seemed to be going wrong, I would just put it this way: can you imagine Aaron Rodgers in that game with guys lining up in the wrong place, jumping off sides, running the wrong routes, dropping footballs? His body language would have been bad news, but we got to love the guy we got right now who's growing up with these young players. So it was an all-timer for sure.
Sure was a blast. Like we said, plenty of room for excitement. Maybe equally as exciting is the fact that we have joining us a guest with a shirt on, and
Yes.
even better, an elite football mind. Derek, happy to have you here, like in the Melvin Gordon jersey. Where did that one rank all time for you?
Yeah, thanks for having me on tonight. It was an incredible game. I stay calm during games if we make big mistakes, if we fall behind. I usually stay pretty calm, pretty optimistic. And watching that first half, it's just like everything that could go wrong was going wrong. We were having good plays, and then we'd shoot ourselves in the foot, false starts and other alignment penalties, and maybe some poor play calls at times, just poor execution. But design wise, schematically, I felt like we had a handle, throughout the whole game, and we just needed to put it together. Um, I was rewatching the highlights, and there's so many times in all 3 weeks now where I guess more focused on the defense is where we'll have like someone penetrate for like a 5-yard loss, and we just miss the tackle, and it turns into a 5-yard gain, stuff like that. Even the punt return for a touchdown, when I rewatched it, we had like schematically everyone was covered or like had him contained, and he just got through and then broke it outside, and it just felt like we were missing everything. Everything was not going our way. So it was just hopefully a matter of time. We didn't run out of time for us to put some drives together and somehow pull off the win.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely, everything that could go wrong was going wrong for a while. We were able to move the ball, but we didn't score early on the first 3.5 quarters of the game. We gave up a touchdown to Jimmy Graham. That's when it's not your
Yeah.
day to begin. Punt and return. That's one thing I want to get your thoughts on, Dad, are the special teams. Have we really improved under the new regime with a renowned special teams coach? Has this been an improvement? I guess the bar wasn't very high before, but tough to see another punt return for a touchdown. That's been a long-standing issue for us. What do you think on the special
Well,
teams?
you'd have to go back to last year when Keyshawn Nixon was tearing up the league, returning kickoffs and punts, and led the league in both, or was close on the punts. I would say from that standpoint, your Mason Crosby was pretty much money last year. It looks like the kid this year that's kicking is good. So you got an aberration there. I don't like the punt return, but got a rookie punter who didn't place the ball very well. It was windy. I'm going to give him a pass. I think we're improved under. I'm not ready to go back to any of those other coordinators that we have. And I say we give the Italian fella a pass on this one. Better not happen again, though.
The other thing from a coaching standpoint I wanted to talk about, we've spent plenty of time talking about Joe Barry on this show, and certainly we have to give a little bit of a nod of the cap to the defense and their performance when we needed them down the stretch, right? 0 second half points, partly due to the missed field goal, but overall they were sturdy when we needed them to be. But on the offensive side of things, I was impressed to see two main things. One, to this point in the season, we've had a high average depth of target. We've been throwing the ball down the field, attacking the middle of the field as well. Two things that you see the Miami Dolphins, and I'm sure you're watching them closely given your fantasy interest there, Derek. But I think that's just, from an analytics standpoint, I think that's the highly effective equivalent to like the 3-point shot in basketball, is attacking deep and attacking down the middle of the field. And by deep, it doesn't have to be 40 yards, but pushing the ball down the field, not throwing it consistently at or behind the line of scrimmage like we did a lot with Aaron Rodgers. What do you think from a philosophy standpoint of embracing some of the analytics? We, of course, saw the decision to go for 2 to cut the game to 6 instead of kicking the extra point to make it 7 as well. Do you have any thoughts just generally on analytics and scheme and those topics, Derek?
Yeah, for sure. So the 2-point conversion, which we're watching right here, right now, it's fortunately, I'd more say unfortunately, something that has been discussed in my life a lot the last year with various groups of friends that have different levels of analytical minds, I would say. But I think it's been pretty well adopted recently in the NFL to go for 2 when you're down by 8. Given the analytics, you have more than a 50% chance of converting. And now that, especially, I would even consider that kicking the extra point is not automatic anymore. I mean, they're pretty automatic, but they definitely miss
It's like
at a little bit higher rate.
94% league
And
average.
it used to be 99,
yeah,
like over 99. So that's a tiny factor. But I would just say, like, you go for 2. It's more than 50% chance. If you get it, then you got an extra point to win the game if you happen to score again. If you don't get it, then, drop a better 2-point conversion play the next time you score. So I would say it was actually, we're a little more conservative sometimes. So I was a little surprised because there's still 7 minutes left. If there was like 4 minutes left, I'd say for sure. But I'm definitely happy that we went for 2.
Yeah, it seems like I think game flow has to enter into this too, right? I mean, you can look at the numbers, but there is a feel to the game, and I'm sensitive to that. But when you're in the midst of a comeback that's going to require a lot of things going right, and you've just seized the momentum, it is a double-edged sword because it's going to let the wind out of your sails if you don't get that. But by the same token, when you do get that 2-point conversion, I'm sure the other sideline has to feel almost like it's inevitable that they're going to blow this thing. That's a lot of wind out of their sails when you do get it, and they realize if they give up a touchdown, they're likely going to lose the game. So it certainly cuts both ways. I appreciated the decision, and it's easy to appreciate it when it works out, of course, there. Speaking about our quarterback in general here, Dad, could you be more impressed through 3 games than we have through this guy? I mean, you've got to watch and evaluate a young Brett Favre, a young Aaron Rodgers, and now a young Jordan Love. So you've seen what that looks like in the early goings here. What are your thoughts on his first 3 games?
Yeah, and I got to watch and evaluate a young Don Horn when Bart Starr retired, a young Jim Delgazo, young Carlos Brown, a young Laddie Dilwig, a young Randy Wright. And so I saw a lot of young quarterbacks Rich Campbell, let's remember to put him in there, a big draft pick out of our last draft pick out of the Berkeley Bears over there, University of California. None of them can hold a candle to what Jordan Love is doing. And, you can't predict what his future is going to be, but I don't know that you could ask for a better start. Did you see on those highlights some of those balls he was dropping in there to one to Dobbs, one to Reed, a touchdown pass to Dobbs that goes through a 6-inch window on a back shoulder throw. He hit Reed for a touchdown, but Reed dropped it in the left corner of the end zone. I mean, this stuff is otherworldly elite type passing, and he's got touch on the ball. He can throw it every throw in the book. He can put touch on it. He can lob it in there. So I couldn't be more excited. I would do this. We got Schmity's not here, but I'm going to let Derek be Schmity's alter ego. And so Derek,
That's a scary proposition. Good luck, Derek.
Here. So Schmity, really, Derek.
Yes.
Have you seen enough yet out of Jordan Love to be able to go ahead and tell us that Goody made the right move? What's Schmity's name?
From Schmitty's perspective, I think it could be close. It should be enough. I think it should be enough. I don't know if Schmitty thinks it should be enough. It's only 3 weeks, but it's been quite impressive. I could be nitpicky about some stuff, but overall his composure is great, and he's throwing the ball really well. Command of the offense is great. Decision making's been pretty good. The interception was more like a punt. So I think it's enough, even though it's only 3 games.
But I think I agree with you. Schmitty probably won't. At which point I'm going to say, Schmitty, I'm going to ask you this question every week until we get to the point where you've seen enough. Because I'd seen enough last spring and OTAs, but this has exceeded my expectations for the. And you know what? There's going to be some growing pains. It's not going to be all lollipops and rainbows. He's got some things to learn. I think you said it, Derek. One of the most impressive things is to have not so great a day going. A lot of penalties could have been called, I thought, for holding up our receivers. What's his name? Yidium. I used to be our guy. Playing on Dobbs, held him up 20 yards down the field, and there was just a lot of contact. We weren't getting any calls. Our guys weren't holding the ball. But the body language that Jordan Love exhibited and the confidence he displayed, to me, are almost as impressive or more impressive than his physical talents throwing the ball. Just fantastic the way he has the confidence of the team.
This game reminded me for a while of the last time the Saints came to Lambeau Field, where they beat the Packers pretty badly. I want to say it was something on the order of 35 to 3 or 38 to 3.
Week 1.
Yeah, and things just never recovered, right? It snowballed in that game, and that prompted me at that point in time to say, if you want to win, put 10 in. I think I'm ready to take my victory lap on that game now. It's been fun to watch this guy in the early going. It has not been fun to watch A.J. Dillon, unfortunately. Is he someone who can be on an NFL roster at this point, Derek? Am I overreacting?
I'm going to say that you're overreacting. He's not a starting running back. That is 100% sure, but he had a couple good plays early in the game. Then he kind of went back to his normal, I feel like, in the second half for sure, but he had a couple good runs. I don't know. I think we need more. I think he shouldn't even really be the number 2 back probably. So I guess, maybe it's getting close to not rosterable,
Well,
But
does he have special teams potential? I just haven't seen him out there because he's been the number two.
Mhm.
But if you're not a number two running back and you don't have
right,
special teams potential, I'm sorry, it's tough.
I
He
think
seems like a likable guy. He's the mayor of Door County, as we all know and respect and revere. But it's been brutal, hasn't it?
feel like he could be on kickoff return. But yeah, I mean, also just looking at our running back room, I'm not liking what I'm seeing behind him. So, I mean, it's not a huge sample size, but we're hurting without Aaron Jones, that's for sure.
Time to go get Jonathan Taylor.
I would love it.
If you
Jonathan
had to
Taylor.
pick, Dad, we had this conversation a little bit. Another potential trade candidate for the Packers down the stretch. We'll see as that trade deadline approaches, but potentially Devontae Adams. I want to hear from both of you guys. If dream scenario, who would you pick for the right price to come back to Green Bay? Devontae Adams or bring Jonathan Taylor back to Wisconsin?
For me,
Yeah.
that's a tough question. I I like our young receivers, but we were watching Devontae the other night, and that guy is so unbelievable, and his releases off the line and the way he moves and the level of sophistication. The issue is for how many more years? Is he what, 29 now?
I think he's
30?
I think he's in
30, I
30 or
think.
31 at maybe even.
Yeah. And he's going to be at that elite level for a year or two, and then you're going to be paying him more money than he's worth. So I think I would lean the Jonathan Taylor direction because that guy's 24 years old. He immediately bolsters your team right where you need it. And that would be a huge coup. If somehow, some way we could beat Detroit and be very palatable looking team for Jonathan Taylor to want to go to. And I don't know how he feels about Wisconsin or if he's adjusted his feelings about how much money a running back should make, but a 4 or 5 year deal for 80 or $90 million, I think would, I don't know, is that close to what a elite running back realistically should make? It's not what an elite receiver makes. But if he would be willing to do something like that, and we only had to part with a number two, or I don't know, even maybe a late round number one, boy, you'd have to think, you'd have to think about it for sure.
Derek, you have a preference?
Um, I would say I have a little bit of a bias towards Jonathan Taylor, and I would, if I wanted to pick between those two, I would say to bring back Devontae.
Wow.
I think just having that experience. I mean, we'll probably get to it. Romeo looks fantastic. He looks like a number one receiver for sure. But having Devontae's experience and just, I mean, top 3 wide receiver in the NFL for sure. Having him with Love could go a long ways. Running backs, I don't know. It's hard to know how much value they provide. Aaron Jones, I feel like, has provided as much value as I ever could have imagined from a running back over the last 5 years.
But but when he's gone, look what you got.
Yeah.
It is not good looking.
Well, for this year, if you could guarantee Aaron Jones was going to be healthy the rest of the way, I think you'd have to lean Devontae. But it's tough to make a guarantee like that for your running back room. It's an interesting question. It's going to be really fun to speculate about that if we can get a win this week over the Detroit Lions. And importantly, we have the short turnaround. But after we play the Lions on Thursday, we then have the Monday night game against the Las Vegas Raiders, and then the bye week shortly after that. So it's really going to be a chance for us to get healthy and get right. Can you give us a current status on our litany of injured guys there, Dad? What's the update on the injury report?
Well, yeah, I just read an article in the Sentinel Journal about if they had held practice today, who could have practiced and who couldn't. And I was very surprised to see that Christian Watson would have been out, which leads me. I mean, he practiced twice last week. So did he have a setback somewhere? This is a real bone of contention with me. What in the world was he doing on Friday before Labor Day that he pulled that hamstring? I mean, they are so cautious with these guys once they pull it. Why not before they pull the hand? Come on. let's use a little ounce of prevention here. But anyway, that's water under the bridge. Nothing we can do now, but it seems to happen year after year. So he would have been out. Of course, Bakhtiari, you just don't know with him. Jenkins isn't going to play most assuredly. And then they listed Zach Tom went out in the fourth quarter, and he would not have practiced today. Jair would not have practiced. Valentine with the bicep apparently isn't a season-ending thing, but he wouldn't be able to go. And the only one that looked a little bit optimistic was Aaron Jones. So there's a little ray of hope there. But boy, that's a lot of our, those aren't just starters, those are some of our best starters.
And I kind of feel like, I mean, we'll see. I know Packers are super conservative with this stuff, which obviously it's probably a good thing because a lot of times people come back and re-injure stuff. I mean, especially hamstrings. I'm not super optimistic about Watson. Like, it's going to be in and out of the lineup is my prediction, but I know I have maybe more of a pessimistic view on that particular athlete and his injuries. But I think maybe the early bye week is also factoring in. I've kind of thought that from the beginning. It's like, are we just going to hold out some of these guys till after the bye? Because then they can be fresh for the rest of the season, hopefully. But hopefully, if they're 100% healthy, then they're playing. So it'll be interesting to see with Aaron Jones with the game just being 4 days later. It sounded like he really wanted to play yesterday.
Yeah, maybe he'll have a chance to get back there. That would certainly be big against the Detroit Lions. Derek, did you have an opportunity to watch much of the Lions game this week?
I had it um, on one of the TVs. I wasn't paying as close attention to that one as I was for a few of the other games. I had the Vikings game on and just a couple others on as well. But I was watching the Lions. It seemed like they kind of had it well in hand. It wasn't like a blowout, but they seemed to be in control. So I wasn't watching a lot of the details. It sounds like Gibbs had a good game and was getting a lot of touches, maybe.
Yeah, he was playing well. He just looks explosive. Like he's a threat to make about four guys miss on any given play. He's a jitterbug. There's no doubt about it. Um,
Hmm.
their offense has maybe been not quite as explosive this year as it was at times last year. So we'll see what that looks like moving forward. But I was pretty impressed with their defense, given that we had just played Atlanta and saw what Bijan Robinson in that running game there is capable. The Lions were fairly beat up on defense and did a heck of a job shutting that down. Now, if you shut down the run for Atlanta, that's a pretty one-dimensional team. So I think the Lions benefited from that and ended up having a fairly lopsided score because of it all. But I think we're a much more diversified team, especially if we can get Aaron Jones back healthy. And even if we're one-dimensional in the air because of our lack of an efficient running game, I think we've seen Jordan Love put the team on his back. The Saints are one of the best defenses in the league, and we scored 18 points in the last half of the fourth quarter. So we're capable of scoring on anyone. So it might be kind of a shootout against Detroit. Do you have any thoughts on what you've seen from the Lions to this point, and early thoughts about that game this coming Thursday here, Dad?
Yeah, I've been racking my brain knowing that you were going to ask this on the podcast today, and I kind of had myself talked into the fact that if back to really thinking that they were kind of saving those guys. If they're going to hold those guys out to the bye, they should have been on the, what do you call it, the IR or the pup, where they sit out for 4 weeks, and they should have made another spot on the roster. So I think they've been hopeful that they're going to get back in there, but the injury report doesn't look like that now. I would have to agree with Derek that Watson looks highly dubious to play. And so I was thinking, if Watson's in, Bakhtiari's in, we get Jonesy back, we got Jair on the field, that I could figure out a way to talk myself into the fact that the Packers could have an emotional performance after what Jordan Love did this Sunday. But if the injury report is indicative of who's going to play, I don't think I can overcome my logical mind. The Lions have ascended. They do believe. They got a coach who has them believing. They've got a good defense and a veteran quarterback. I would have, as much as I hate to say it, I'd have to lean toward the Detroit in a tight one at Lambeau Field, as much as I hate to, because in looking at the games last year, we thoroughly outplayed Detroit in both games. We just had inopportune interception by Rodgers in the end zone when he's thrown to Bakhtiari on a 3-foot throw that he couldn't get over the head of the defensive lineman. And we had Jonesy fumble in that second game at Lambeau. We had Dobbs drop a ball that could have made a difference down the right sideline. So, but I guess I, by a narrow margin, hate to do it, but I guess I'm picking the Lions.
Derek, do you have a prediction and any thoughts you want to lay on us in this
Yeah,
matchup?
I'm just trying to think about the injuries and who I think. I mean, there's so many key players out for us. Trying to think of if there's just like two of them that can suit up and like who makes the biggest difference. Um, the offensive line seems to be holding up okay, even though we have our two best linemen out. So I would normally say Bakhtiari would be in those two, but I maybe will go Aaron Jones and Jair. I'm hoping those two play. Um, but yeah, I think our defense looks really good. Our defensive line, our front seven, we got some monsters out there. Rashawn had 3 sacks, maybe. I know at least 3, but he's looking great. Kenny Clark's looking great. Uh, I don't know if Lucas Van Ness is going to be healthy to play, but he's made a little bit of an impact in the first couple games he played. Um, Devondre Campbell, that's another injury where he's maybe out. Quay is going to make he's made some good plays. He's going to make a really big play here soon, I think. But I think we take care of business. It's at home. The Lions are the Lions. Lambeau's going to be rocking. It's a short week. We're going to be ready to go.
It's nice having a Packer fan on the pod here with us, Dad, isn't it?
Yeah, Schmity, I think Schmity is a little schizophrenic this year. He wants to be a Packer fan. I think he wants to like Jordan Love, but he's so in love with Aaron Rodgers that he just can't quite let go yet. And I think time's going to heal all wounds and he's going to come to his senses. But yeah, he's in two minds right now this year. So it's good to have good old Derek in there, who's true blue, 100%, knows what team he's rooting for, isn't rooting for one player, but's rooting for it. I wasn't a Brett Favre fan. I wasn't a Bart Starr fan. I wasn't an Aaron Rodgers fan. I was a Green Bay Packer fan. And those guys played for the Packers, and that's why I love them, and I love Jordan Love right now.
I think I would have said that was true. I was a pretty big Brett Favre fan, but I'm very much a Jordan Love fan right now too. That said, I think Derek almost hit the nail right on the head as far as I see it. I think it's one guy that needs to play for us, and that's Aaron Jones. If Aaron Jones plays, Green Bay is going to win this football game. Dad, you alluded to some of maybe the good karma that we might have heading our way. Well, one, just because Aaron Rodgers is gone, that always bodes well for your karma as far as I'm concerned. Secondly, we had the tough games get away from us against Detroit last year, and I think we owe them one. And lastly, we saw Detroit eke one out against Kansas City week 1. They've had their moments, but I'll believe it when I see it. And they still are Detroit. They still are the Lions. And I'm not ready to be a believer in them. They might make me eat my words, eat some crow here next week. But I am all in on the Pack for this week. I think we get it done by a field goal at the buzzer, 2017 from Anders Carlson. It's my prediction there. So it's one to look forward to. This has got to be one of the bigger, more exciting games we've had. I guess going back to the last time we played Detroit was a pretty big one. Hopefully we get a different result here. Do you have any closing thoughts for our viewers here, Dad? And then I'll let Derek wish everyone goodbye as well.
Well, my heart is heavy. I'm so conflicted with myself here on this Lions pick. So I really hope that I'm wrong. And I hope that maybe Zach Tom can get out on the field and Jair can get out on the field. Doesn't look like Christian Watson is likely, but maybe they're blowing smoke. I'll tell you what, right now, if I may, if Christian Watson and Zach Tom play with Aaron Jones, I've changed my prediction to Packers. So that's a qualified prediction if I may be so entitled. And I'll just leave my observations at that and wait with great anticipation and unbridled excitement for the game on Thursday night.
Fair enough. Derek, what do you have in closing?
Yeah, in closing, so this is a giant game here against the Lions. It's at home, so it's early in the season, but it's against the Lions. They're looking good. We're looking a lot better than a lot of people thought we would.
Well, and it's very much a two-horse race already.
Yeah, that's what I was about to get to, because the Bears, you don't even have to think about them. The Vikings, we don't need to talk too much about it because we all saw it, but that was one of the worst last 45 seconds, just football minds, decision making, let alone the Vikings fans played a pretty big role in there. Cousins clearly could not hear after that first down. He had his hands over his head, trying to block out the noise like he always does, and he couldn't hear anything. They ran a play with 42 seconds left on 4th and 5. The next time the ball was snapped was at 12 seconds. That's inexcusable. They should have had 4 shots at the end zone. At absolute worst, they do a spike, and then they get 3 shots at the end zone. They snap that ball at 12 seconds left. If that's incomplete, they got one more play. But, bats up in the air, it's intercepted. They're 0-3. I'm not going to say they're dead yet, but this is a big game against the Lions here.
And I think I'll have to phone a friend, get some thoughts from our guest Schmity overseas here. I think he might have maybe a clip I can splice in here for those who were loyal listeners and stayed along till the end. We'll get his thoughts before the Thursday night game here and see if I can add that in. Thanks so much for joining us here, guys. Look forward to doing it again next week. Let's go Pack.
Go Pack, go.
You bet. Go boys.
Packers Corner, checking in from Salzburg, Austria. And wow, what a performance by the Green Bay Packers. They pull it off in the fourth quarter. Oh my God, Jordan Love might just be that guy. It might just be that we are blessed with the gods, the football gods, shining down on us. I didn't want to believe it, but he has all the talent in the world. Reminiscent of our friend number 12. I miss him dearly, but 10 just might make me forget about him that quick. He is so good, so talented. I'm so impressed by him, the other offensive young guys that were able to band together the offensive line. You were missing so many starters on offense and defense. You couldn't get much going in the first 3 quarters. So many penalties is just this is a young team, right? And guess what? They pull together in the fourth quarter and take care of business. The Saints go down 18 unanswered points, the 2-point conversion, the defense, Rashawn Gary. Oh my Lord, guys, is this real? Is this real life that we actually might have a chance to compete for something? And we're going to find out, aren't we, on Thursday night against the Lions at our house in a game that I think that we can win, and we will, 23-20. How can you not be just so pleased and so enthused about a team, this product that you're watching in front of you? Is it really already our time again to compete for championships, for divisions? Are we really already in that space? You can't speak highly then enough about Matt LaFleur and Goody and what they've already been able to accomplish. You have a bunch of a cap casualty. It's just a great time to be a Packers fan when simply you think that, me at least going into the season, that there wasn't much to get excited for, and now you're staring week 4 in the eyes and you think you just might have something here, and this team is only going to get better. Just wow, what a performance. Go Pack, go. Love you all. Schnapps in your honor. Cheers.